Once again, you'll notice a lot of this template I remade with a lot of free and natural Ableton things. YouTube, what's good? Today I want to show you guys my Ableton 11 template. It is my favorite template I've made so far. It's helped my workflow a ton. If you're a bass music producer that makes dubstep, future bass, honestly, anything EDM, this is probably going to be the best setup for you guys, and I want to show you guys it. So we're in here, and don't mind all these colors. This is just a quick little loop I made so I can show you some of the features of it. When you first load in, you're going to see the master and 4 columns here. We'll get to the master chain, don't worry. We're going to start from the top and work our way down though. Our track is just a reference track. It's going to be set to an external out, which means it's not going to go through your master. And it's going to have my span setting and Swiss Army meter. So one thing I forgot to mention is you're going to need a few VSTs for this. 3 are free that are mandatory, which is going to be span, G-clip, and Widener 2.0, which I will link down below for you guys. And there are a few others that you're going to need that are not mandatory, but it just works with my workflow. These are paid, which is Pro Q3, Ozone 10, Trackspacer 2.5, Serum, which is just a default synth in there. It doesn't really do anything else. Valhalla Room, which is a reverb, and Oxford Inflator. But those are not necessary for you guys to have this functional. The only other one that I would say is paid, probably you want, is Volume Shaper, just because that's how my sidechain set up. But if you know how you set up your sidechain, you don't need it. It's just mine is for quick and ease of use. So now we got all those out of the way. Let's talk about the actual setup after the reference track. We have my kick sidechain, which is just a volume shaper triggered by C3. And it has multiple outs, as you'll see. It has intro, drop effects, and Oxford Syn, which you're actually not going to need this. I actually took that out in the final version. So intro, drop, and drop effects. This is a way you can dial in how thick you want each sidechain. We'll get more into that a little bit later, though. Drums, pretty straightforward. It's intro drums, which is just anything that's not going to be pretty much your drop stuff, which I don't have an intro, so nothing there. Why I like to split it up is because in your intro, you usually want stuff a little bit quieter, so you can turn it down -1, -2, have quieter drums, so it feels like your drum's hitting a little more impactful. Your drop drums, we have kick, snare, or your clap, whatever you want, and then we have room for your cymbals as well. One thing I would think of doing is putting a line delay on here, and just having it set for like 20, 25 probably seconds later. I'm going to turn that off, but this way it'll move past your transient. I don't like to sidechain my cymbals, but if you do, go for it. I just prefer not to, but you can move them a little later, that way they don't hit with the transient. In this example, I do not have that. It's not a big deal. So drums, that's really it. That's being sent straight to our master. Then we have our pre-master, which we'll get into what's going in the pre-master, but let's talk about what's in it. First, we have our vocals. Our vocals are in our pre-master, and our vocals have a just basic low cut limiter on our main. We have a vocal chain that me and Siren gave it to me originally, and I worked on it. We have a few projects, so this is her vocal chain. I just made a few iterations, but I wanted to give her a proper shout out. It's phenomenal. And I'll show you what it sounds like. Here's just a quick little vocal. I dream it. If you had more presence, reverb. I dream it. I dream. I dream it. I dream it. It does a lot of functions. You guys are really gonna like it. It works great. Just don't have your vocal too loud, I would say, because if you're having your vocal up here, I dream it, can get very loud. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to have it as quiet, but if you want to do a doubler into this, I dream it, I dream it. Sounds pretty cool, right? I love the Waves double remake. It's just Ableton stock, but yeah, you kind of do what you want there. Another thing I have as well is going to be our syns for our vocals. You'll notice things are color-coded. Vocals are pink, so is our 3 down here. We have a long reverb, short reverb, and a quarter note delay. You can change it down here to whatever you want. It is all sidechained to our main, so if we turn this on, I dream it, you can see it's getting pumped. I dream it. And the louder your vocal is, you're going to have to tune this too. If we have it louder, it's going to trigger it sooner. I dream it. And then it comes in. So if we turn in all of our syns real quick, I
I dream it.
And that's just from our sends, nothing from our racks there. So nice vocal sends you can have and use at your disposal. This is just a harmony slot. Build out how you want to. I didn't want to put too many lanes in there and keep it too complicated, but these are awesome resources for you guys. Next we have synths. I break them up into intro and drop. You'll see that there is a rack here with a lot of stuff going on, so let's just kind of get into it. We have my synth rack, which is a low pass, high pass, depending on what you want to do, transitions and builds. Resonances, don't really have to worry about those unless you're really trying to create something that's just default. Once again, they are color coded. You have a glue compression, which is just going to help if you want to further compress your synths. A washout, which is just your bass clef easy washout. You have shifter and the dry wet of shifter. Then you have Wesley's EQ, which I use a lot. It's great because you can just quickly touch on stuff you want to touch on and automate that as well. Works great. So that's a great rack. Intro synths, your intro stuff goes there. This is where Serum and my grand piano are to write out my melodies. Then you go into your drop stuff. Drop is drop stuff. You're gonna have your no lows. You're gonna have your sub. Sub is already preset with a sub preset of mine, just a Serum one. You can put white noise or you can use white noise in your sub. And yeah, there's really not much here besides just another Valhalla throw, and everything's clipped. All drop stuff is going to go into our synths right here. Next we have effects, and you're going to have your normal effects you'll build out, and then drop effects, which is going to be during your drop. Now how the drop effects work, you'll see a rack here, and that's just something to make it super simple. You're going to have low cut and a high cut, depending on where you want your effects to be in your drop. You're going to have a fine pitch in case you want to pitch them up. So if you have a bump, 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 in the second half you want bump, 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 you want to bring it up, do whatever you want. I know I don't sound good doing that, but it is what it is. If you have track spacer, then this is going to be for you. We're actually going to map track spacer to do probably like up to 50% here. And track spacer is just going to sidechain to your drop stuff. So if we turn it up, it just creates a multi-band. You can see the band it creates there when it's all the way turned up. I usually find like 15-20% for, or 15 to 25% on track spacer is phenomenal. If you don't have that though, don't worry. Compressor's doing the same thing. Just play with the threshold here, pull down to what you want. Start at -18, but if you want the effects to be less present when your basses and all that are going, pull the threshold down. The comp ratio is pretty decent. It's set pretty high, and you don't want any makeup here, so it's doing the same thing. Once again, you'll notice a lot of this template I remade with a lot of free and natural Ableton things. So after that, we are going to our pre-master here. There's another washout here in case you want to wash out more than just your synths at some point. You can do that. I have a utility down, which is going to just prevent clipping. We have Pro Q3. The only time it's used is for this low cut at 20 Hertz. It's a linear cut. Helps that out. Ozone 10. We use it as an imager. If you don't have this, don't worry. We have something else in stock. And dynamics. This is the biggest thing, is like compression. I want to show you guys is how this works. And I apologize, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. But we're going to compress all these. We have the bands already created. So if I play this real quick on a loop, you can pull down to what you think is good. If you hit link bands as well, we're just going to compress everything down together. I don't want everything to be separate. I want an equal compression level to be there because we're trying to create somewhat of an equal pull down. And we just want a little bit pulled off the top. If we see over here, we're going to try to match our things, which that's close enough for me. And then that's how you're going to add a multi-band compression to your whole drop. And this is why we don't want your drums in it. Next, we're going to turn it up because we turn it down. This gain is equaling each other, so we prevent the clipping, put in a level multi-band compression, turn it up, and clip it. Now say you don't have ozone, that's okay. But say you don't have ozone, right? Then you don't have to worry. I created a Ableton stock rack, and it looks a little complex, but just feel me out here. Comp is going to be compression. It's like Ozone 10 we did here. Just have it turned on. You can do 50% or 100, and we're going to gain it with utility here. So these are pretty close. As you can see, we can turn up more. And if we go into the actual multibands, we have all of our split up here, right here, and we're just going down. So it's just a lot of multi-band compression. This is just going to help equal out your curves overall, and you can gain up or down depending on your situation. In this situation, it's down, it could be up. And then our next thing is we have our span on our master, right? And now we have the opportunity to see what is our width looking like. So we're on, and a good way of showing you this would be, let's say we pull in the width a lot here, and we wanted to make it wider. Obviously, I'm just doing this really quick, not tuning it in, but you understand. This is all with a wider rack. You don't have to have it on, and you don't have to have that on as well, but you can kind of create the same thing we did before, and that is going to be here, and it's going to be off by default. So all this is going to our master rack now. And our master rack, if you've seen some of my project files before, it's going to be kind of similar, a little bit different at the same time. We have build gain, which is just, once again, always in my things where I can always take off 2 dB. Usually I'll put my intros at like -1. This is terrible. -1, and then I will make my builds go down to -2, and then drop hits, and we're at that. So I like to do that. Same with stereo width. Same thing happens here. Mono, just check your mono mix. Do I lose anything here? I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear the difference between stereo or not on YouTube. And this is just extra multi-band compression. Just parallel compression, you'll see here. I like to have it on during my drops. Totally up to you. And then gain to -3 LUFS is simply just a way of saying, hey, if you kind of want your music standard, boost this till you hit -3 here. And then it's like, okay, well that sounds really cool. How does our actual master look? And we can just check real quick, see how our wave file looks. Like a pretty full spectrum to me. Sidechain looks really good. Our kick sounding crisp. Obviously there's some clipping with the crash and all that, but this isn't really a mixing tutorial. But it looks like a nice solid waveform. And that is just kind of the beauty of this template, is it's just designed to have all these racks help you guys work faster. So I hope you enjoyed the template, and I hope you found this useful. You can get the template down below, and thank you for the support. Take care. See you soon.